This man is shirtless, facing away. His back is covered in scars. They look like thick vines wrapped around his body. A photographer captured a masterpiece called The Scourged Back, and it leaves people speechless. This isn't just hard evidence, exposing the brutal slave system. More importantly, it spread like a wind that gave enslaved people strength to rise up against that savage oppression. Peter is one of those enslaved black men. That day, he and his wife and kids were enjoying a quiet life when a gang of slave catchers suddenly stormed the house. No explanation, just grabbed Peter and dragged him away. The slave owner watched proudly as his prey struggled. To control someone who's desperate, you go straight for their weakness. With Peter, that meant threatening his family. When he saw a gun aimed at his little girl, Peter had no choice but to let them tie him up. Sometimes, between life and survival, there's only one door separating them. People outside can't help you, and the people inside can only stop fighting. Peter was drowning in despair, but he still told his family to stay strong and keep living. On the way, he witnessed misery everywhere. Countless black men were forced to work under the slave owner's watch. Anyone who didn't obey was whipped mercilessly, sometimes to death, just to scare everyone else. They even put the dead on poles. And the air reeked of blood and hopelessness. Black lives were treated like dirt. Seeing all this, Peter realized soon enough he'd end up the same way. When the iron collar locked onto his neck, freedom and hope were no longer his. He was forced to obey like a hunting dog. Those cold-blooded hunters didn't see slaves as human. Their hands never stopped swinging the whip until backs burned with pain. Some couldn't take it and tried to run. They were caught and dragged back. And for the runaways they recaptured, those beasts pressed red-hot iron into their skin, branding runaway on their faces as a warning. In a slave's world, there was no light, because they lived in fear of whips and beatings. By day, they worked like mad, and at night they were chained up like animals, locked inside a rough pen, thrown together from scraps of wood. Peter was a man of faith. Even in this kind of hell, he didn't abandon what he believed in. He started praying. Other slaves couldn't stand seeing that. They said, if God is real, then bring freedom to this loyal sheep, right now. But God didn't do that. Or maybe they said God doesn't exist at all. Maybe the heavens really did hear a sincere prayer from a suffering man. That day at work, Peter overheard some news from someone nearby. The U.S. President, Lincoln, had announced emancipation. With Lincoln leading the way, enslaved people everywhere were rising together. Believing the slave owners' days were numbered, Peter couldn't hide his joy. He even dared to raise a shovel against the hunters. That slave catcher, Fassel, was thrilled by the challenge. His biggest hobby was breaking a man from the inside out. If making Peter act like a dog was something he could barely endure, then forcing him to personally bury his own people while they were still alive, that finally pushed him over the edge. As gunshots cracked in the distance, Peter swung and knocked out 2 hunters beside him with the shovel. He showed those monsters no mercy. Seeing the hunters fall lit a fire in the slaves, and they dropped their tools and sprinted out of the work site. They always said black men were born to run, but when bullets start flying, luck matters way more than talent. And Peter got lucky. He dodged the shots and escaped into the deep woods with 3 others. Of course, Fassel wasn't about to let him go. He brought his hounds and men, chasing right behind them. Peter's group tore through the forest, crossed the last stretch of grass, and reached a river. Peter didn't hesitate. He led everyone straight across. But one man froze on the spot because in the middle of the river, a crocodile was staring him down. Peter's group made it across, but that guy hesitated for just a few seconds, and the hounds tackled him to the ground. Every direction around them was swamp. Fassel said, "Peter won't just scatter like a bunch of flies. He'll have one clear place he's trying to reach." Meanwhile, Peter and the other 2 hid deeper in the woods. But staying together meant getting caught was way more likely, so they split up. They followed the distant cannon fire from Lincoln's army, planning to regroup at the camp on the other side. Peter hadn't gone far when he spotted a farmhouse. He quietly went to the well and gulped down a few mouthfuls of water, then stole a shirt. The owner's daughter saw him. If she screamed, "Thief!" you could say she was just protecting her home. But instead she screamed, "Run away!" And that says it all, being a slave. was already stamped deep into people's minds. Even kids looked down on them. A bell started ringing, and it drew Fassel's group in the woods. With the hounds leading the way, they came charging like mad straight at Peter. Peter used the shirt to wrap his wounds, then jumped into the river, using the water to wash away his scent. Fassel watched the calm surface and a crocodile swimming by and assumed Peter had crossed safely, or maybe ended up in the crocodile's jaws, so he turned around and left. Only then did Peter slowly lift his head out of the water, gasping like crazy for fresh air. Peter wasn't just prey to the hunters. He was also food for the crocodiles, the rulers of this river. One of them yanked him underwater. After a brutal struggle, it went. Peter reacted fast, jamming a branch in its jaws, then finished it off with his dagger. He hid inside a hollow tree and treated his wounds. Fresh blood dripped onto the leaves. The next day, Fassel came back with his men. They found the crocodile's body. He figured Peter got eaten. But when they cut it open, the belly was empty. That's when he realized Peter was a real problem. Not only was he smart enough to throw them off, he even took down a crocodile on his own. And that just made Fassel more determined. Because no matter how tough you are, to him you're still just a slave. So the hunt kept going. Peter smeared mud all over to mask his scent. He climbed into a small cabin and saw the coals were still glowing, so he heated his dagger in the embers, then pressed it to the wound, cauterizing it the roughest way possible. After that, he climbed a tree again, used smoke to drive off bees, and grabbed a honeycomb. Honey's actually great for treating wounds. But he couldn't stay there long. He hopped into a boat and slipped out of the danger zone. When Fassel saw the smoke, he knew something was off. He rushed over and found the cabin empty. Just a few drops of blood on the floor proved Peter had been there. He took the hounds around the swamp and found the spot where Peter came ashore. On this side, Peter runs into another enslaved man. The guy blames him for leading the hounds here. Peter pulls out an onion and signals him to rub it on his body so the dogs won't catch his scent. But the guy doesn't believe him. To save time, he just rubs it quickly and takes off. Pretty soon, Fassel's hunters find the man hiding up in a tree. A gunshot rings out. He's hit and falls hard. He looks toward where Peter is hiding until his breathing stops. He never gives up Peter's location. Rain pours down and rats start tearing at the body. That gruesome scene left Peter deeply traumatized as he kept running for his life. But at the same time, Peter's wife and kids aren't having it easy either. When she hears the owner plans to sell her to someone else, a desperate idea hits her. So she can stay with her child, she doesn't hesitate. She shoves her hand into the cotton gin. A blood-curdling scream follows. She sacrifices an arm just to be allowed to remain by her child's side. That night, firelight guides Peter's way. A burning warhorse races past, and Peter follows its path to an estate consumed by the flames of war. It's nothing but ruins now, bodies scattered everywhere. Everything screams that this place is dangerous, but Peter doesn't overthink it. He walks into the dining room, grabs leftover food, and devours it. Suddenly, he hears piano music coming from nearby. He opens the door and steps in, and a black child is there, silently begging for help. Peter lifts the kid into the wagon. The boy can tell Peter won't hurt him, so he hands Peter a little cross necklace, and right then a hunter shows up again. But with a gun pointed right at him, Peter has no choice. He drops the dagger. He keeps begging the hunter to spare the child, but this cold-blooded man doesn't care if the kid lives or dies. To him, the child is just something he can wipe out whenever he feels like it. The boy dies in despair, and Peter snaps in rage. He grips the cross tight in his hand and charges straight at the hunter. In one quick move, he steals the man's weapon, then takes down the other hunter too. Turns out all of this was Fassel's doing. Because he couldn't catch Peter, he burned this estate down to lure Peter out. When Fassel returns to the estate, there's no Peter in sight. Only two of his men lying dead on the ground. He swears he'll catch Peter no matter what, and storms off with the hounds, hunting like a madman. Peter hasn't gone far either. He quietly lies in ambush in the tall grass. The moment the hound appears, he shoots it dead to get rid of the problem. From night till morning, Peter runs all the way to the shore. Distant gunfire points him in the right direction, but it also helps Fassel close in on him. Peter bolts without looking back, not realizing danger is right behind him. A whip swings. Peter is knocked flat to the ground. He collapses onto the sand, completely hopeless. He drops to his knees in silence, just waiting for death to come. Right then, a gunshot explodes. And the one who falls isn't Peter, it's Fassel. He dies right in front of Peter's eyes. The shooter is an officer from Lincoln's army, and he's black too. Peter was one step away from death, and only now can he breathe again. He collapses, kneeling low to the ground, and finally soldiers help him back to camp. After who knows how long, Peter wakes up from his delirium. When he wakes up, he realizes everyone in this camp has the same skin color as him. War has left these black soldiers badly wounded, their bodies marked by pain and hardship. But their faces still look bright, because this is a fight for freedom. Some men were born to be soldiers, but runaways still had to make a choice. Either go back and work on federal farms, or put on a uniform and head to the battlefield. Peter doesn't really have another option. He goes to the supply unit to get his uniform. That's when he meets two white photographers. After hearing about Peter's brutal escape, everything he survived, they ask to photograph him, so the whole world can see the true face of slavery. Peter agrees, takes off his shirt, and sits down. From the front, he looks like a strong, healthy man. But the moment he turns around, his back is a mess of tangled scars. The photographers freeze, stunned into silence for a long second. That's how the photo, "The Scourged Back," was born. It became the most direct evidence of slavery's brutality, and it awakened people, fueling resistance in countless enslaved black people. Many volunteered to join the Union Army, rising up to fight slavery in the South. And now Peter has become a brave soldier. This is his first time going into battle. War shows him the truth. It's even more terrifying than he ever imagined. Just like other black men chasing freedom, he pushes through the bombs and bullets, running into the smoke and flames. They keep charging forward non-stop, which also exposes them to enemy gunfire. Even with bullets ahead, nobody backs down. Even the captain gets killed, right in the middle of the push. Explosions tear the ground apart, and Peter watches his brothers fall one after another. He can't stop, he can only keep moving. With rage in his chest and freedom on his mind, he charges straight at the enemy like a man possessed. When the smoke finally starts to clear, sunlight shines across the battlefield. Blood has turned the ground into a river. Bodies are everywhere, piled like mountains of bones. The enemy flag is dragged down, and this victory belongs to the army of black soldiers fighting for justice. They free the slaves and shoot the brutal slave owner dead. When the word freedom reaches the enslaved people, they cry with joy and hug each other, but they can't even believe it, that this day could actually come. After searching everywhere, Peter finally reunites with his family. They hold each other tight at last. The Emancipation Proclamation helped countless black people gain freedom. And finally, on 1860, America freed a total of 4,000 enslaved people. This film, Peter's freedom journey, shows just how lucky he was. Surviving suffering most people could never endure, not for a single day. Like so many others, he fought to stay alive through an endless night. And that's where today's movie recap ends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Movie summary. Hello everyone. This might be the movie, the best war film I've ever seen. And the main character is a horse. It'll show you just how brutal war can be, but also how much kindness can still exist on the battlefield. In a small town in England, an old man pays £30 to buy a purebred horse. But once he gets home, his wife fiercely objects because they're already poor, so poor they can barely pay the rent. And now he brings this useless horse home. Sure, it's a thoroughbred, but it's not suited for plowing. His wife tells him to sell it quickly, but besides him, no one's willing to spend £30 on a horse. That can't even work the fields. That's when their son, Albert, speaks up. Please trust me, I can tame him. So she gives father and son 1 month. If after a month he still can't plow, she'll sell him with her own hands. Albert starts focusing on training the horse, and he names him Joey. All Albert has to do is whistle, and Joey hears it and comes running right over. A few days later, the landlord comes to collect rent, but they have no money to pay. Albert's father begs the landlord for more time and says they'll use the horse to clear the land, grow crops, and pay off the debt. But the landlord just laughs and makes a bet. If that horse can plow, then he'll agree to give them more time. And then the landlord gets chased out by their geese. The neighbors hear about it and come over to watch. Albert's father is really worried, desperate for Joey to know how to plow. But the soil is too hard, and people think getting a young horse to plow is no simple thing at all. Right then, a heavy rainstorm hits, and Albert's father becomes a joke in the landlord's eyes. The neighbors get soaked too and hurry home. But at that moment, Albert realizes the rain has softened the ground. "Come on, buddy. You've got to plow, Joey. If you don't know how, I'll teach you. Pull. Come on, Joey. Our whole family is counting on you. Pull, my boy. Let's go, Joey." Don't let everyone's hopes go to waste. And just like that, they clear the land. Albert's family finally grows crops like they dreamed of. But only a few days later, maybe it was fate or maybe just cruel luck. Either way, destiny plays a nasty joke. A torrential flood ruins the farmland completely. Then in 1914, war officially breaks out. Life leaves Albert's father no choice. He has to sell Joey to a cavalry officer. Albert's heart breaks. But all he can do is salute and say goodbye. The officer promises he'll take good care of Joey and treat him with respect. And if possible, when the war is over, he'll return Joey to them. Before he leaves, Albert gives Joey a small flag, a symbol his father cherished from his old soldier days. Joey is sent to the cavalry and meets a war horse named Topthorn. That old man really did have a sharp eye. In training, Joey and Topthorn are neck and neck, leaving every other horse behind. A few days later, they prepare a surprise raid on a German outpost, but the Germans are already waiting for them. Heavy fire is set up on both sides and even behind the camp. A few days later, Albert receives a letter from the front. He opens it and finds a drawing of Joey plus news. The officer has been killed in action. The Germans are ready to slaughter entire groups of horses. So one soldier suggests to the commander, use the horses to pull wounded men to safety. But the commander says these are war horses. Getting them to pull casualties would be harder than reaching the sky. But right then, Joey breaks free of his ropes and willingly shows the others what to do. Topthorn follows his lead too. The two soldiers are stunned, their faces lighting up with relief. Who taught you to do that? But a few days later, the unit has to send men forward to reinforce the front. A 14-year-old boy, someone's little brother, gets chosen. And he knows this trip is probably one way. When he enlisted, he promised his mother he'd bring his brother back alive. So that evening before they set off, he rides Joey, leading his brother and Topthorn. After hours of wild riding, they reach an old windmill. But not long after, German troops catch up, and the gunfire that night burns into Joey's memory. Two young boys fall right there, dying far from home. The next day, a young girl discovers Joey and Topthorn at the windmill. Her father died in the war, leaving her and her grandfather to depend on each other. Joey and Topthorn showing up brings color back into their lives. The girl takes great care of them. She feeds them good food and even teaches them how to jump fences. But when the Germans arrive, their peaceful life shatters. The soldiers steal all their food, and they want the horses too. They take Joey and Topthorn, and the girl is devastated. Her grandfather begs them to at least leave one horse, but the officer says, war takes everything. People go to the battlefield, and horses go too. Then the officer leads Joey and Topthorn away. The girl clings to her grandpa, crying silently. And after that, what awaits Joey and Topthorn is straight up hell. The Germans use horses to drag massive artillery, weighing thousands of pounds. Most horses collapse from exhaustion, and once they go down, they're executed. When it's Topthorn's turn, luckily he meets a kind-hearted soldier who notices Topthorn's leg is badly injured. He begs the officer to swap for a different horse, but the officer warns him, don't ever get attached to a horse, because once you care, losing them will break you. But right then, Joey charges up to the officer, staring at Topthorn, wanting to pull the gun in Topthorn's place. His hooves start wearing down to the bone, and at the top of the hill he realizes, this war is only just beginning. By 1918, the fighting still won't end. And by then, Albert has enlisted too. He never forgets the promise he made to Joey. No matter where Joey is, Albert swears he'll find him. German artillery tears through the trenches, blood everywhere around his unit. With the charge horn sounding, young soldiers rush into the battlefield. In the end, they push the Germans back. But right then, A gas shell explodes, poison spreads through the trench. Albert is swallowed by the gas, alive or dead, no one knows. The Germans keep getting driven back, but while retreating to the next position, Topthorne, covered in wounds, slowly collapses. After a few heartbreaking cries, he quietly closes his eyes. The old soldier is devastated, tears streaming down, but the unit catches up, and the soldiers force him to move on. Only Joey is left, standing beside Topthorne for a long time, refusing to leave. Then a tank crushes Joey into a corner, and he seizes the moment to leap and escape. He bolts in a straight line, carrying pure fear and despair. After surviving brutal fighting, he sprints through deadly trenches, running like his life depends on it, because it does. Because he knows, if he stops, he'll never make it home again. In this endless war, he thinks of Albert, thinks of Topthorne, thinks of that old soldier. He thinks of the little girl and the two German brothers. One morning, when the fighting briefly pauses, British soldiers spot a horse trapped in the wire. At the same time, across the way, German soldiers spot the same horse too. Nobody can believe it. On a battlefield this savage, a horse is still alive. They start calling out to the horse. One soldier, to save Joey, openly disobeys orders, holding a white flag as he walks into no man's land. But Joey is tangled tight in the wire. Just as he's about to cut it, a German soldier appears behind him. "I think you're gonna need some pliers." Two enemies pause the war for one horse, a temporary ceasefire, and they start figuring out how to cut the wire. They realize they have to cut both sides at the same time. "We need another pair of pliers." While cutting the wire together, they even chat about life in the trenches. The British soldier says, "On our side, we get pretty girls and cake every day." The German soldier replies, "On our side, we train rats every day to do circus tricks." Not long after, they finally free Joey. But then, who does the horse belong to? They flip a coin to decide. In the end, the British soldier wins. The two shake hands and say goodbye. Before he leaves, the German gives him the pliers as a keepsake. Joey is seriously injured, so the soldier takes him to a field hospital, and by pure coincidence, Albert is being treated there too. The gas damaged his eyes. He's temporarily gone blind. When the medic sees Joey's condition, he says Joey won't last more than 7 days. He decides to end Joey's suffering. But right then, that whistle, Joey has been waiting to hear it for 4 years. 4 years of hoping it would come. He realizes Joey is Albert's horse, so the medic promises to do everything to save both of them. Not long after, the war finally ends. By order of the army, all the horses are put up for auction. The soldiers scrape together 29 pounds to buy Joey back for Albert. But then something unexpected happens. 100 pounds! And if that's not enough, I'll sell my entire farm. It's worth 1,000 pounds. All for this horse, because he's the last memory my granddaughter had. War took everything from me, including my granddaughter. As the old man prepares to lead Joey away, Joey walks up to Albert on his own, as if to say hello again. The old man freezes at what he's seeing. He pulls the little flag from his pocket. "This is yours, isn't it?" "Here, take it back. Thank you, sir." "And take him too." No, don't pay me. He belongs to you." And honestly, that's what my granddaughter would have wanted. She was the real owner. Maybe this is the last thing I can do for her. Not long after, Albert and Joey finally head home. For 4 years, Joey crossed countless battlefields, from England to Germany, and then into France. He witnessed the horror of war, the best and worst of people, and still felt warmth in the middle of it all. Joey truly deserves the name Warhorse. And that's the movie for today. See you in the next videos. The soldier snatches a rifle off the ground. He hurriedly aims it at a German soldier. The other guy doesn't hesitate. He pulls the trigger. But it turns out the gun jams. The Soviet soldier is shaking with nerves. Even his trigger finger won't stop trembling. The German sees it and smirks. He tosses his gun aside and whips out a knife. Lucky for him, a veteran shows up in time and saves him. That was a close one. And you can tell right away. This is his first time ever seeing real combat. The raid finally ends. They count the bodies using a roll book. Yep, these really were students. Just a few days ago, these young guys were still sitting in classrooms. But one order, a draft notice, shattered their peaceful lives. The Germans are fired up, ready to push in toward Moscow. The Soviet commander plans to launch an ambush, but then realizes this sector is desperately short on troops, and the only unit they can still move is 3,500 cadets from 2 military schools in Polonsk. But the principal refuses at first. These kids are the country's carefully trained reserves. Most of them are only 18 or 19, and they're just 2 months away from graduating. Sending them now would be a pointless sacrifice. But if they wait 2 months, the country might not even exist. So they're forced to send these young fighters to the front. It's something nobody wants. But if the nation falls, they won't have a home to return to anyway. Right now, they have to throw in every last force and hold the Germans back until reinforcements arrive, even if the principal can't bear it. With the nation's survival on the line, he has no choice but to obey. He starts rallying the students at the school, no matter the cost. They must push the Germans back for 5 days. They've got no backup. Even their weapons are basically training gear from the academy. Even so, they still choose to fight. For the flag, for the nation. If we have to die, then let us die like heroes. After saying goodbye to their families, the young soldiers head straight to the front. On the way, the Germans drop a wave of bombs. Caught off guard by the sudden strike, some of the boys panic. They don't even have time to run. A truck bursts into flames, and it's loaded with explosives. Everyone risks it to haul the explosives out. One young soldier runs into the cab to stop the fire from spreading to the other trucks. He drives the burning truck away without thinking twice, and then suddenly, the truck. Just like that, the young soldier sacrifices himself. Everyone freezes. This is something they never imagined in all those daily drills. Only now do they realize the battlefield is pure death, but there's no time to grieve. They have to set up the ambush immediately. They're already hidden along the road the Germans are forced to use. When the German motorbikes roll by and the column gets close, they say hello with artillery fire. The surprise attack hits the Germans before they can react. The lead scouts have to hold the line, and the young soldiers keep dropping enemies one after another. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the principal leads Unit 5 to strengthen the defenses. They're getting ready for a do-or-die battle right here, because this is their last line. After the intercepting fight ends, the captain brings back 68 student notebooks, which means 68 more students are gone, killed in action. So many died here last night alone. They dug graves but still couldn't bury everyone. They did their job, holding the enemy back. With the troops gathered at the bridge, inside the trench, 2 young soldiers talk about their ideals. And then, they hear enemy planes roaring overhead. Bombs pour down like a storm, smashing the Soviet positions. In seconds, the ground turns into hell. I've never seen a school that brutal before. The Soviets sent 3,500 students onto the battlefield to stop the German assault. Against the enemy's modern weapons, their chances of survival get thinner and thinner. That bombing run, a storm of bullets and shells slams into the Soviet line. In seconds, the ground turns into hell again. This is the Germans' surprise strike. After the rain of bombs finally passes, the trenches are littered with bodies, and enemy tanks keep rolling forward. The Germans try to punch through the line, but the Soviets block them. With just one shell, they blow the first tank apart. The tank behind pushes up and gets shoved straight into the river. The Soviets fire a second shell, and it works again. Wave after wave gets beaten back. The Germans can only retreat for now. To scout the enemy camp, the Soviets send out a few recon guys. They find the enemy's position. German weapons are seriously advanced. Pure manpower won't stop them for long. The only way is a sneak attack, so the Soviets bring out a secret weapon. They move through the night to set an ambush, but on the road they run into 2 young soldiers. The colonel gets suspicious and walks over to check. Thank God it's not the enemy. Not far away, there's also a cargo truck following behind. Their behavior feels a little off. An officer pretends to ask for directions, then kills the civilian. He's actually German. They're disguised as Soviet troops sneaking through, and the two young soldiers spot the whole thing. They immediately report it to the commanding officer. By the time morning comes, the Soviets' secret weapon has already infiltrated the enemy position, and those Germans from last night follow them here too. Right as they're about to launch their sneak attack, the Soviets are already waiting. They wipe them out. Turns out the commander had been set up to ambush them all along. Because those two young soldiers showed up in time, they end up saving Unit 5. Right after that, the Soviets get the rocket launchers ready. They aim straight at the German position. The colonel immediately gives the order. In an instant, the German camp is blown to pieces. The two scouts seize the moment. One grabs an officer, the other drags the enemy straight into the river. Back at camp, during interrogation, the enemy officer stays silent. He won't say a single word, but his subordinate is terrified of dying, so he spills everything. Now, the Soviets fully understand the Germans' attack plan. Getting hit again and again drives the Germans furious, so they bomb the Soviet positions. The ground turns into smoke and chaos. Poison gas spreads everywhere. The lieutenant orders everyone to put on gas masks, and the Germans use the cover to build a bridge across the river. When the smoke finally clears, the Germans are right in front of them. The lieutenant shouts a battle cry and gets shot instantly. The enemy tosses in a grenade. One medic freezes, not knowing what to do. Another medic grabs it and hurls it back out. The radio operator picks up a rifle and charges into the fight. He drops one enemy and yells in excitement, but the next second another enemy chokes him out. On the battlefield, stuff like this happens all the time. One soldier has already lost his eyesight, but he still refuses to leave. Even if he can't see, he wants to stay and fight beside his brothers. After days of brutal fighting, Soviet troops keep falling. The Germans even offer surrender terms, promising rewards if they lay down their arms. But the soldiers don't care. No one wants to be a traitor, still. No one knows how horrific what's coming next will be. Just watch this. A bomb hits a soldier dead on. When his teammates drag him back, the young soldier has lost both legs. The enemy attacks with flamethrowers, burning through countless lives. The young soldiers huddle together in fear, hearing their friends scream. They break down, crying in pain. One soldier stands up to avenge them. He shoots at the enemy's fuel tank. But right after that, they're spotted. The Germans open fire and kill them on the spot. They can't hold the position anymore. Soviet casualties are horrific. At the medical station, the rear keeps sending in wounded after wounded. The scene is so brutal, the head nurse can't take it anymore. She confronts the commander, asking why it's only students fighting out there. They're getting shot up, critically wounded. Some step in and die instantly. Where are the reinforcements? Watching them fall one by one, the commander is devastated too, but orders are orders. He has no other choice. All he can do is endure it. The Soviets can't hold much longer. High command decides to blow up the bridge, but when they trigger the explosives, nothing happens. That's when they realize the wire's been cut. A young soldier doesn't even hesitate. He jumps into the river, using a raft as cover. He swims in to reconnect the line, while enemy bullets rip toward him non-stop. He finally reaches the base of the bridge, his body covered in wounds. He grits through the pain, reconnects the wire, basically tying his life to the bridge. For victory, he sets the detonator, but he doesn't make it. Not far away, the Soviets spot what looks like their own tanks. The young soldiers go crazy with hope. After days of hell, they think reinforcements finally arrived. Cheers explode across the battlefield. But then someone notices it's a German disguise. The Soviets instantly snap back into combat mode. They roll out the artillery. In just 7 minutes, they take out 9 enemy tanks. German infantry also moves in, and the firefight erupts. But command orders a retreat. Because their real reinforcements have arrived, the lieutenant refuses to leave. He stays behind to cover the retreat. A young soldier sees that and won't back off either. He chooses to live and die with the lieutenant. But their position is exposed after the artillery fire. Nearby teammates want to help. Stop that tank! But it's useless, because the turret is already locked on. Their only chance to beat it is to target the tank itself and blast the gun barrel. In that life-or-death moment, several grenades land right next to them. They exchange one look and understand each other instantly. Between survival and duty, they choose to keep fighting. With the blast of the cannon, the German tank explodes, and the two soldiers stay here forever. In the end, the battle is over. Out of 3,500 students, fewer than 100 make it back. The order was to hold for just 5 days, but they end up fighting for 12 days and nights, all to buy precious time for reinforcements. On the way back, the relief troops slow their march, paying respect to these young soldiers and their officers. This film is adapted from a story that really happened. In a desperate situation, the young soldiers followed orders to defend their homeland. Because of their courage, their fearless spirit, Moscow was saved. They fought not to be praised by the world, but to give back their youth and their fire for their country. Most of these guys are brand new recruits. They have to scream their lungs out just to hype themselves up, even though right before the attack, the commander stressed no yelling. But when your teammates keep dropping one after another, who's still gonna remember those words? A few rookies get so scared they can't even walk. The officer has to shove them and drag them forward. This guy's pulling a rookie forward 1 second, and the next second that rookie's left is half a body. Meanwhile, one guy only cares about the star on his chest, and he gets scared out of his mind and backs off too. And a few experienced soldiers have already hidden behind a disabled tank because they know if they want to clear this area, they have to take out the machine gun in the trench. One man watches and pins down the position for a moment, then finds a grenade on the corpse beside him. He throws it without a second thought. Just like that, the machine gun is dealt with. The unit starts yelling and charging together, but the barbed wire right in front of them turns into a massive obstacle. Anyone who can't find cover in time drops instantly. Some die right at their teammates' feet, just to be stepped over as others push on. One soldier grabs a big blade trying to cut the barbed wire, and of course some men get tangled up and stuck. A teammate rushes in to pull him free, but 1 second later, bam, he gets shot and goes down. And when the others see that, they stop hesitating too. One by one, they step over their friends' bodies and keep moving. Down in these trenches, anything can be a weapon. A dagger, a shovel, even a helmet. Show the enemy even a tiny bit of mercy, and the one who falls might be you. In an instant, screams blend into non-stop gunfire. The Germans even bring out a weapon. People call a battlefield destroyer, but the Soviets aren't backing down either. One grenade is enough to take out the gunner. The Germans panic. Where the heck did they learn to fight this recklessly? Their defensive line breaks immediately. After the battle ends, the guy obsessed with his star stands up with a goofy grin, and 1 second later he's gone too, right with the others. And this is only a small battle in the movie, the Battle of Rzhev. The film focuses on the fight for the village of Oceanico. A small director recreates the brutality of war through each individual soldier, and when you mention Rzhev, you can't not mention the meat grinder of Rzhev, because this was the bloodiest clash between the Soviet army and Nazi Germany, lasting a full year and 2 months. Total Soviet casualties hit 620,000, and about 1.15 million were wounded. On the Eastern Front, this steel front pinned down a huge number of German troops. After retaking the village, the officer quickly pulls out the map, and he realizes the enemy surrounds them on 3 sides. Taking this place was basically like yanking a tooth with your bare hands. Half the unit died for a tiny village like this. No wonder he starts to doubt whether the higher-ups gave the wrong orders. He rushes to contact HQ and reports the situation. They're basically out of food and ammo, and only half the company is left. If the Germans counterattack, they're done for. He asks for 2 anti-tank guns and ammo, but instead HQ doesn't send anything. They tell them to scavenge German weapons and prep to support an attack on the next village. Not long after that, the Soviets launch an assault just 1 kilometer away. By order from above, they're forced to provide cover fire with heavy weapons, but the soldiers can't understand it. It's too far to hit anything, and it just exposes their position. Isn't this just wasting ammo and lives? But orders are orders, they have to obey. A full belt of ammo is burned through fast. It doesn't help at all. And it straight up gives away their location. The Germans immediately respond, facing heavy German bombing. The whole company can't react in time. The lucky survivors finally realize what their role really is. They're basically human bait, drawing all the fire. No wonder HQ never sent more weapons, but they don't get long to breathe. The attack is barely ended, and German planes arrive overhead. The soldiers shake in fear, hands over their heads, scrambling for cover. But then, what drops aren't bombs, they're propaganda leaflets. They promise all kinds of sweet deals, as long as you ditch the Soviet army. Stuff like this happens all the time on the battlefield, and plenty of people have died just from picking them up. So the officer rushes over, ordering everyone to collect them immediately and burn them. He knows his commander would never do anything shady, not a chance. But inside the army, some people don't see it that way, like Officer Rico. This guy might not know how to fight a war, but he sure knows how to kill. He's never shown mercy to anyone in his life. He says it and he does it. Soon HQ sends someone down. After crawling through bullets and explosions to get here, his first order is, make the soldiers go out and pick up the leaflets. Of course the officer refuses. That's basically sending your own men to die. Rico sees this and loses it. He decides to teach the officer a lesson he won't forget. He orders a search on his own men. They were already a company used as cannon fodder, and now they're being humiliated like this.
Anyone by see the red.
They fight for their families, they fight for their country. If they wanted to surrender, they would have done it long ago, not get treated like traitors just because of one flyer. A messenger refuses to be searched and Rico explodes. He yanks out his pistol on the spot. In the nick of time, the officer steps in to stop him, but Rico still isn't satisfied. He keeps throwing his weight around and finally finds a leaflet on Papasa. Papasa says he only kept it to light cigarettes. The officer believes his man, but in this situation, there's nothing he can do. He tries calling up the chain of command to beg for help, saying this man has a solid record. He's been through life and death with them again and again. He's not that kind of person. But even HQ doesn't have the power to stop Rico. If he talks too much, he'll end up like Papasa. So the officer can only watch as Rico leads his men away. They plan to march across the battlefield and take them back to HQ for processing, but they don't get far. The Germans suddenly open fire. Rico has zero combat experience. He doesn't even know how to take cover. A bullet hits his calf and he can't move. Luckily, Papasa saves him in time, dragging him into a shell crater. Papasa doesn't hold a grudge at all. He even bandages Rico up and stops the bleeding. But Rico still keeps cursing, calling him a traitor. He warns him not to even think about escaping. Papasa says they're pinned down right now, and they can only leave after dark. But before night even comes, they hear footsteps getting closer. Turns out the Germans launched a surprise push. Papasa and Rico instantly drop and play dead. They wait until the Germans pass by, and Papasa sees his comrades getting slaughtered, wanting to help, but he can't. Then he spots the Germans setting up a machine gun. He stops hesitating. He charges in to strike, and in a flash he drops 2 enemies. Then he snatches the machine gun and goes berserk, spraying bullets at the Germans. The gunfire wakes up his teammates, and the situation flips instantly. Rico also fires a flare, signaling the direction to their men. But it turns out this is only the first wave, just the opening move of the German assault. There are way more coming behind them, and this small group can't hold the line alone. So the officer orders everyone to abandon the front line and fall back to the village to fight from prepared positions. Everyone agrees. Because without Papasa, who risked his life to warn them, the entire company would have been wiped out by now. But an order is still an order. The officer won't risk the whole company just for Papasa alone. Watching everyone retreat, Rico knows they're basically finished this time. There's no way out. Rico tells Papasa to run while he still can. What he did was enough to redeem himself. No need to waste time on Rico anymore. But Papasa can't just watch someone die and do nothing. He hoists Rico onto his shoulder, and the two of them leave with a small escort, but they don't get far at all. Papasa gets ambushed and shot down by the Germans. Rico is stunned too. Facing a large German force, the escort quickly pulls out a German leaflet, saying he's willing to surrender. He claims he's been planning to leave the Soviet side anyway. But the Germans don't believe him at all. They say if you really want to surrender, then kill this officer to prove you mean it. Rico probably never saw this coming. After suspecting everyone, in the end, the closest guy to him is the real traitor. He looks at Papasa's body beside him, then turns and smiles. In that moment, he finally understands what Papasa had been feeling all along. A rookie who barely survived makes it back and tells the officer he understands German. He says the Germans won't just attack the village. That would cost them too much. They're planning to blow this place up and turn it into rubble. The officer understands the enemy's plan, and he can't stand letting his men be used as targets again. So he orders everyone to retreat, leaving only one guide and one platoon leader behind. They call it buying time, but the officer knows the truth. As a high-ranked officer, leading a retreat would still end the same way, death. So he chooses to buy his men more time to escape. The soldiers understand his burden, and one by one they say their goodbyes. Sure enough, the Germans start bombing the area. The village and the trenches instantly disappear under a storm of dust and debris. The officer and a few others survive, but they're barely holding together. Still, they keep fighting, pushing back with their last bit of willpower. They raise their rifles and fire like crazy, trading blows with the Germans until they're completely out of ammo. Then they climb out of the trench and fall back to HQ. But when they return, the captain is furious, demanding to know why they abandoned the position. The officer can't hold it in anymore. He says he's not afraid of dying, but dying for nothing, that has no value at all. Powerless, the captain drags him into the tent and explains everything. Turns out the army is preparing a counterattack. Their mission is to pin the enemy down, so the Germans think the Soviet main force is over there, meaning they're the bait. Once the Germans gather in full, the Soviets will ambush and wipe them out. The officer understands his mission again and leads his men back to the village. These soldiers, some haven't slept for days, and some barely have any bullets left. They're clearly wounded and exhausted, but they still push forward without hesitation. Even though the movie is just a small model, a mini version of the full battle, it feels insanely real to watch because it shows everything head-on, in a way that hits you directly, so you can really feel the mistakes that were made in politics back in those years, and the power plays, shot in a Hollywood style, make it feel even more intense and real. You really have to watch this one closely to catch the deeper meaning underneath it all. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.